people, and welcome to Vlogmas day 21. Today we're going to talk money. I'm going to tell you how much I spent on sewing in 2021. I'm going to break it all down for you, how much I spent on fabric, on patterns, on notions, on everything to the dollar amount or as close as I can manage. I'm going to lay it all out for you. I'm not going to hold anything back. I've been keeping a disturbingly detailed spreadsheet all year long of how much I've spent, and to be honest, I've been pretty curious what the numbers were going to look like. I didn't add up anything until I was prepping for this video, so it was a surprise to me. Now I know that talking about money is a little taboo, so I just want to preface this with a few things. For some people, this number is going to be a lot, and for some people, this number is going to be a little. Everybody has their own spending habits that are unique to them. Everybody has different budgets and amounts of money that they're able and willing to spend on their hobbies. And so my goal for this video is really just to share with you this information in an objective way. I'm not making any judgments on any dollar amounts or saying how much you should or shouldn't spend on your sewing. I'm even trying not to judge myself about the number. I have my own personal thoughts about how much I spent and how I feel about that and how I will use this information in the future. And I'm actually going to touch on that at the end of this video because I think it is the most interesting part. But really my goal with this video is just to, like I said, present the information in an objective, transparent way, because I thought it might be interesting to other sewists out there. We all spend money on our hobby. It's something we have to think about. And so I thought maybe it'll be interesting, maybe it'll be useful, or I don't know, maybe it'll just be entertaining to hear about someone else's spending habits. So without further ado, let's get into the numbers. And then we're gonna have a little debrief and analysis after. I have a little cheat sheet up here of all the numbers next to the camera, so don't worry, I don't have all this memorized. Let's see, I'm gonna start with the category I spent the most on, and then we can work our way down from there. So get ready, there's a lot of numbers about to come at you. Also, I'm going to give you the numbers in United States dollars because I'm in the US. I'm really sorry if you're not in the US. You might have to convert numbers that are interesting to you into your currency. So, all right, let's get into it. In 2021, I spent the most money on machines and machine parts. I spent a total of $1,188.22. This was 34.75% of the total. I bought 2 new machines this year, a Juki HZL F300 and a Brother 1034D serger. That was technically a birthday gift, but I included it. This also includes a bunch of feet that I bought for the new Juki, a bunch of accessories I bought for the new Juki, and some parts for my vintage Singer 99K that I had to repair this year. The second category I spent the most money on is everyone's favorite category, fabric. I spent a total of $1,148.23 on fabric. This was 33.6% of the total. I bought a total of 109.25 yards. That's equivalent to a 30-story building. That's also an average of $10.50 per yard. I spent the most money throughout the year at fabric.com/Amazon with a combined total of $298.76. Third runner-up for most money spent was Notions. I spent a total of $433.38 on Notions. That includes thread, buttons, elastic, interfacing, tools, stay taped, zippers, all that kind of stuff. That was 12.7% of the total. Fun fact, I bought a total of 43,522 yards of thread, which is equivalent to 24.728 miles. That's almost a marathon's length worth of thread. I can't run a marathon, not even close, so I can't run the length of the thread that I bought this year. That's also 4.5 times the height of Mount Everest. Can't climb Mount Everest either. I spent the most money at Wowak by far, a combined total of $257.93 across all my orders in 2021. Following Notions, fourth runner-up, patterns. They were 8.4% of the total at $287.37. That's an average of $8.98 per pattern. I bought 32 patterns, 22 indie patterns, 3 of which were paper, 10 big 4 patterns, all paper, including 1 vintage pattern I bought off of Etsy. The fifth category is classes and class material. I spent $193.53 on classes. That's 5.66% of the total. Sixth, I spent $145.61 at PDF plotting to get PDF patterns printed. That's 4.26% of the total. Last but not least, coming in at only 0.64% of the total, I spent $22.04 on Threads magazine for 2021 and 2022 subscriptions. Other stats include, if you're interested, shipping. All those numbers included shipping, but if you add shipping up on its own, I spent a total of $203.10. The most expensive months were February and May. Those were the months that I bought my machines. I made a total of 69 transactions with an average of $49.54 per transaction. Aside from machines and machine parts, the most expensive order that I made was for StyleMaker fabrics. That order was $125.92. That included some fabric, thread, and a pattern. So you can see from this that most of the orders that I made were under $125. So it all adds up. In 2021, I'm on track to complete 20 garments this year. If you average that out, the total is $170.92 per garment. That's kind of a weird figure since I made some stuff this year with stuff I bought last year, and I'm going to make stuff next year with stuff I bought this year, but I thought it was kind of interesting to average that out anyways. Okay, so you probably want to know what the grand total is. So for those of you who are not scribbling furiously down all the numbers to add them up yourselves, the grand total for 2021, if I did all of my math right, I spent a total of, drumroll please, $3,418.38. So whether you think this number is too high or too low, let me give you some context and my thoughts about it. I'm going to start off by saying that I did not set a sewing budget. I kind of mentioned that at the beginning, I guess, but in case you were wondering, there was no sewing budget this year. So this is just how much I ended up spending without really paying too much attention and moderating myself. So after looking at the numbers and thinking about them for a little bit, I think my sewing spending habits this year really came down to two things. Number one, this year I invested in the right tools for the job. In 2021, I felt like I really leveled up my sewing in terms of acquiring the right tools for the job. I bought 2 new machines. They were vast improvements over my previous machines. That was 35% of the total. So prior to this year, I have spent about a total of $100 on machines in 8 years of sewing. Number 2, I plan more projects than I realistically have time to do. So looking at everything I bought, I obviously didn't get to all the projects that I planned for and bought for. So I'm gonna be making some of those next year with the things that I bought this year. I also didn't use everything I bought this year in terms of notions. A lot of notions will carry over to next year, things like thread and elastic and stay tape, whatever, things like that. So in a way, it's like I invested in next year's projects, which will allow me to spend less next year overall. Here's where I have a problem with that though. It is gonna take a lot of discipline to use everything I have in my stash now, because who knows what the new shiny pattern will be next year? Who knows what fabric will catch my eye or what great sales there will be next year? I love planning projects, so it's gonna be really important for me to keep that in mind next year and also moving forward. I think this really shows me that next year I wanna focus on completing the projects that I planned for and didn't have time for, and not get as distracted with new shiny projects that I won't have time for like I did this year. So that will also help keep my stash under control because I am out of space. I have no space for anything else. So in conclusion, tracking how much I spent this year, I feel like it really provided me with a lot of useful information about my sewing habits beyond just the final number. And of course, I am so lucky that I was able to spend any amount of money on my hobby freely and clearly in the first place, and that is absolutely not lost on me by any means. So that is all I have for you for this Vlogmas Day 21. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 22.